Look, after last week, can you blame me for watching ahead? It's Romania Black, and we are on episode 7 of Odd Taxi. And I mean, can you blame me for wanting to watch ahead? Because episode 6 was really good. Odokawa has seemingly possibly made a deal with the devil in teaming up with Dobu, and I'm very worried about that. Rui has a possible relationship with Baba, which is interesting, and I'm worried about that. Tanaka is still on the loose with a gun and has already fired it, and nearly got Shibagaki, and I'm worried about that. There's Eiji and Shiho, and I'm worried about that, and the manager, and this web of lies and ridiculousness gets bigger and bigger, and I just get more and more worried for all of these characters, and somebody's gonna die, and it's just on the back of somebody's gonna die in this. It has to be, right? And it's a matter of who, what, when, where, how. It's just like the powder keg is just like this close away from the spark, and it's terrifying. So I had to watch ahead. Although, with that being said, I did have a comment from a tiny truck over on Discord about episode 4, saying, I don't know if this is widely known, but I was looking at Odd Taxi's VAs, and I noticed that the comedy duo characters are voiced by an actual comedy duo called Diane, and these are pretty much their only voice acting roles. I also noticed that the Daimon brothers are voiced by by actual brothers who also make up a comedy duo called Miki, and also have never done voice acting before. And there's some other characters too who are just comedians brought to voice act the voice acting world for this show. But I don't think those guys are just as relevant as the ones I mentioned above. I think, at least, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I think it's awesome they got actual brothers to play the two cops, the Diamond brothers, which honestly, they don't really, at this point in the series, have much to do. So that kind of checks out. But it is kind of cool that they got these two comedy duo members to play Baba and Shibagaki, because they kind of have to have that chemistry, because it explains why they get along so well. And I think having an actual comedy duo play them adds like another layer to it. And the show loves its layers. So that is wild. That is wild. Did they actually have a gorilla play Gariki? Who knows? But I think that's so cool that those types of attentions to detail are just, those are wild, and I love it. But yeah, we're on episode 7. And I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen. So before we start with episode 7, though, I want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all for supporting my Patreon and for donating a little bit extra each month. That means a lot to me. So thank you to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Bisa, to Damage3245, to Danger Zone, Dana, Devorin, Destiny Marie, as well as Daniel, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, Elfreya, Liam Polzel, Linden, as well as Murphew, Mochi-kun, and then Willie Morris, Translucent Men, Sunspots, and Shimoyama. Thank you all so much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. And thank you to everybody on Patreon and on YouTube for liking and commenting, subscribing, all that jazz. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but get my video set up and we'll just see where it takes us. But anyway, last episode got me really nervous, and so I was like, I have to just go ahead and watch, otherwise I'm going to keep being nervous until I see the episode. So with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoy the reaction and then the discussion afterwards. But we're going to start with Odd Taxi episode 7, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. So, out of the frying pan and into the fire, right? What a crazy episode! Not nearly as Halloween themed as I was expecting with the title like Trick or Treat, but there was more tricks than treats, I think, in this episode. A lot more tricks than treats. Although Yano is a treat. Oh my gosh. I'm curious if Yano is played by a comedian as well, because, or a singer or a rapper, because him speaking in rhymes is insane. I can see why Dobu hates him, because he is the epitome of the cool, like, schemer and working from the shadows. What is happening, okay? There are so many questions that this episode has brought up, and so many things we need to talk about, but what is happening? What? Okay. All right. We need to get into this. We need to dive into this. So I'm glad that the one brother Diamond knows what's going on, but there's things we need to talk about, okay? There's things we need to talk about. And questions that I have. So I guess we're gonna put questions over here. We're gonna tie questions over here as one would expect. I'm gonna adjust my mic just a wee bit. And then we're gonna put like everything's like poor Whiteboard Coon. He is wibbly wobbly, as you can tell. Whiteboard Coon, what are we doing, my friend? We need to get ourselves adjusted. There we go. Whiteboard Coon is frail in his elderly age. So we also need to put connections up here because there's a lot of things that are connecting. And then, yeah, questions, connections, we're going to put those together here. But there was also a couple of interesting things in the discussion I wanted to point out in this episode. But right off the bat, so we start out with Odokawa. He is at the university trying to, like, just be on the street corner to see if he can spot Kabasawa. And he stumbles across this thing saying, is Kabasawa at school right now? And they're like, Taichi. He's like, oh, he doesn't come to class anymore. He's too cool for school. So I guess over here we're also going to put some thematic things on here as well. Or some thematic things. We'll put a question mark. But one thing on here that's kind of one thing to address in this is the idea that Kabasawa is, you know, the idea of short-term fame. The idea of short-term fame. I think Kabasawa is a really good example of this short-term fame, and I know that's hard for y'all to see with that in the way there, but what's Huckleberry giving me his toy to throw? Yes. So, I thought that was interesting because Kabasawa seems to do like what a lot of influencers do, where they have like something that they're working towards, whether it's like school or a job, but they get this burst of fame and then they're like, oh, well, I don't need school. I don't need a job. I have a lot of people ask that. I've had people in the past ask if I would do content creation full time. And I'm like, I have a job that gives me insurance that's cheap, and I'm like not giving that up. And especially in my age. And it's just hard because, yeah, content creation is fun and I enjoy doing this. It's a lot of fun. I love talking about shows with you all. It's a blast. But as far as full time, I'm like, you know, having a steady job that pays a steady income with health insurance is not bad. And I'm not going to throw that away. I'm like, no, I need that, right? Because content creation is not guaranteed. You know, you're relying upon someone else's income to fund your Patreon, for example, or to fund your channel. And then, you know, if that falls through, what do you have to fall back on? And so I feel like Kabasawa is making a big mistake because just abandoning, you know, what you have for this short burst of fame, because as the one classmate says, he's like, he doesn't come to class anymore. He got cocky by putting the name of his college out there, but he's actually scared. And then he said, people online might treat him like a god, but among us, he's famous for being a coward who's desperate for recognition. Yep. And then the one guy's like, so yeah, so bye. And that just kind of shows you right there that, you know, he has this online following that's parasocial, but the people that actually know him as a coward and they don't care for him. And so, you know, the question is, he's running this whole fame off of the fact that he's hunting down Dobu. And Dobu is a wanted criminal. But the big question is, what happens if Dobu's caught? Then what? Then does he find another target? And do people find out more about him? Like, there's so many factors that are up in the air with Kabasawa. And, you know, then you have Odokawa being like, well, okay. So he goes back to his house and the door opens. This whole thing with the cat, what the fudge is the creepiest, weirdest, I don't know what to do with it situation. Is she dead in the closet? He doesn't seem concerned about the brother finding her, so is she all in his head? Has he made her up? Is there nobody there? Is there a toy in there and he's just pretending that it's her? I don't know. I don't know. Is this going to be like a beautiful mind and it's all been in his head the whole time? I'm like, I don't know. Because, okay, he goes in the house. There are bed linens, which I'm assuming are his. He's got like a fridge and everything there. He walks in and then he sees that somebody has shot through the window and shot into the wall. Now, luckily, it doesn't seem like it's affected her if she is there. And the question is, I guess one of my biggest questions is there someone in the house with Odokawa? That's the biggest question on my mind in all of this, because like there's just red flags. Like if someone had fired in that house, would she not have reached out to Odokawa when he got home? If somebody shot into the wall, unless it's a dead body or not real. If she was actually there, wouldn't she have said something or have left or did something different? Is it all in his head? I don't know. Meanwhile, we have Eiji, who is also delusional and is like, he's also delusional and he's bought this engagement ring for Shiho, which we now know, big old setup. We don't know exactly what for. We're assuming Yano's going to try to get money out of him. Here's the thing here's the connections, right? So we have Odokawa, and we're going to put him, he's our main guy right up here. He's our main guy here. So who has his taxi driver, his cab customer's been? He's got Dobu, right? Dobu he is pretending to work with. Meanwhile, Dobu was dating Shirakawa, who was sent to form a relationship with Odokawa. That relationship has somewhat dissolved now because she's had everything paid for, so they're good to go. Meanwhile, Odokawa has also, Kabasawa is the student who has a cult following now and is after Dobu for the fame and for the lulz and the views. Meanwhile, Odokawa is also at the clinic for Goriki, who is now working with Shirakawa, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. And then Odokawa also has formed a partnership with Little Diamond, which we're going to talk about him. And then his brother, he doesn't trust Big Diamond, who has been on the back burner working with Dobu as well. Meanwhile, Dobu has this connection to the boss that is the one that was at the sauna, right? And the boss at the sauna had met up with Eiji. And Eiji, meanwhile, was trying to be in a relationship with Shio. And Shio is with Rui, who has this pseudo relationship with Amai, who is somebody that has been a cab driver of Odokawa. And then Odokawa has also had the manager who works with Rui and also works with Shio. Works with Shio a lot more than maybe Rui even. We don't know. Then there is the other girl who has the M name. She's the other one who is maybe related to the missing girl. Maybe. And the missing girl is maybe the daughter of a classmate of the boss that is Dobu's boss. And then from there, we also have with Rui, she also is dating Baba, potentially, who has been in Odokawa's cab. And Baba has been with Shibagaki. And Shibagaki and them had a friendship, and they've worked together as the comedy duo. But Shibagaki works in the same place as Imai, oddly enough. Shibagaki works in the same place as Imai, who likes Rui, and then who is working with Baba. So this is a whole tangled web, this relationship. But then Shibagaki has also talked to Tanaka, who is out to kill Odokawa. It's a web. It's a big ol' ass web. But with Eiji, Then there are these loan sharks. And the loan sharks could have been the ones working with Shirakawa. We don't know. They gave her the loan. We don't know exactly how that works. What we do know is that he bought this ring that he couldn't afford. And then we go and see his apartment. So he lives in this tiny ass apartment. He hasn't been paying his bills. They've been on the table for days or weeks. And then that's when the loan sharks show up and he goes to hide. And they've come to collect the money of what he owes. So meanwhile, while all this is going down, Odokawa stops in at the police station where Little Diamond immediately asks, "Are you turning yourself in?" Now, Odokawa, we find out, is 41, same age as Eiji, so he is 41 years old. Right? Okay. Meanwhile, Little Diamond and Big Diamond, they look like they're in their 20s. In their 20s, maybe. So are they in their 20s? So here's a question. Who was the driver of the hit and run taxi that killed the Diamond brothers' parents? Who was the hit and run driver? We don't know. Was it Odokawa? I don't think it was Odokawa, but Big Diamond has no trust of him. So, and then the turning yourself in, I'm so curious about that. What did you do? Or maybe it was just that he was not trusting Odokawa from the start because he doesn't trust taxi drivers. So now that whole line of Big Diamond being like, we don't trust taxi cab drivers, right? That all makes sense now because their parents died in a hit and run. Curious. And he says, "Where's your brother?" He's like, "Oh, well, he worked the day shift." And he's like, "I've got to report this incident." Now, it makes perfect sense why Odokawa does not want Big Diamond to go to the scene, because Big Diamond, as we've come to find out, is not very reliable and also probably would do nothing about helping Odokawa. And Odokawa wants to kind of set up Dobu and have some insurance, so he sends the little brother to come here too. I thought the grandma joke where they talk about the joke that only like siblings would tell, I thought that part was really fun. So he's like, okay. And Little Diamond is kind of a follower, which explains why he's subscribed to Kabasawa. That makes sense. And he's like, "Are we going inside your house?" And he's like, "This is awkward. I'm not sure how to say it, but don't you have the Nerima high school girl locked up in there?" And he's like, "No." So I don't know. Anyway, so we see the gunshot and he's like, "Oh, wow, you weren't kidding." And he's like, "I can't handle this by myself." Now, I don't know if I were Odokawa, I would have put some gloves on before handling that bullet. And he's like, "Well, there's lots of paperwork and procedure and about preserving the crime scene." And he's like, "Are you stupid?" He's like, "I suppose I go to Roppongi at night and get absolutely plastered. The trains aren't running, so I call for a taxi and you show up. What would you think if I told you I don't intend to go home? Or ask the barber, can you give me a long hairstyle?" And he says, "I wanted to tell you the truth. Why did you want to become a police officer?" And he says, "To punish evil." "Why did you want to punish evil?" And then he explains, we see the two of them as little kids. Their names are Kenshiro and Koshiro, which, parents, I know they're twins. I know it's cute, but they got to grow up with those names. Don't give them rhyming or illiterate names. I knew two students last year that there were two names in the system at my school, and we were really confused because, and I'm going to make these names up because I don't want to give their actual names away, but there was two students whose names were like Mark Jacob. And I was like, okay. And they had the same name, Mark Jacob, same birthday, but they had two different ID numbers. And I was like, and we were trying to figure out like who's who. Are they the same person? So we found out, no, it was an error in the system. They were a pair of twin brothers. One's name, and I'm making the names up, but it's the same principle. One's name was Mark Jacob, and the other one's name was Jacob Mark. Why would you do that? It was like Mark Jacob Smith and Jacob Mark Smith. I'm like, that is the most unoriginal, uninspired twin names I could think of. Those boys, do they loathe their lives? I was like, that sucks. Like, Ugh. And they were identical. I was like, oh, gross. But anyway, so Kinshiro and Koshiro, I feel bad for them. I do love that there was always a distinguishing factor where one had glasses and the other did not, but they were so cute. So they're playing with the car, and then there is the ambulance that says our parents were killed by a hit and run driver. And then it said, and it was by a taxi, no less. And he's like, that's why you can't stand the sight of me. Now, what's interesting about this is that apparently Odokawa was involved in a car crash as a kid, we think, as a kid, and he was deeply impacted by it. And then these two lost their parents in a hit and run taxi drive accident. So are the two incidents related? Even if they're separated by years and years and years, are they related? Do they involve the same people? We don't know. But we need to file that away because that might be important later. And he's like, we wanted to catch the bad guys with our own hands. That's what my brother and I swore we would do. And he's like, well, now your brother is evil. And he's like, look, it's true my brother chooses black when we play Othello. And whenever we play tag, he always wants to be it. He's like, no, that's not what I mean. I also like that he takes like the, like it looks like a bunch of coupons. He says, your brother's working with Dobu. And now he says he already asked Big Diamond about it, and he said he wasn't. I'm like, of course he said he wasn't, you know? He's like, I would believe my brother because he's my brother. You know, we're identical twins. He's like, yes, well, after all, he's evil. Little Diamond, I'm going to give you an opportunity to catch Dobu. He's like, but if you arrest him, normally he'd be charged only with petty crime. And right now he's planning to rob a bank. And he says he's working with Dobu. And I like the Little Diamond's like, oh, you're evil. He's like, but you'll gradually become more evil just by pretending to work with them. And he's like, oh my God, stop. Again, if there was somebody in his closet, like, that part is freaking me out so much. He's like, do you know Yano? And he's like, oh, he's a hidden evil. So he's the kind of evil who stays hidden. And he says Dobu and Yano are rivals, which kind of makes sense because you have Yano is like always in secret, even if he's hiding in plain sight. And then you have Dobu, who is like the known evil, even though I think Yano is much more dangerous than Dobu. Dobu's like doing petty crime, but he's like by himself, right? Dobu's just doing everything on his own. Yano has a whole freaking organization. Yano has the manager. He may have his pockets into the Rui's, like her whole idol system. He may have his hands in his pocket with the cops. Like Yano is working behind the scenes with others and forming all of these connections, and Dobu is working by himself primarily. He says it's their job to give money to their boss. And they don't get along because they compete over the sum. So he says, and then I like how he doesn't know if the little brother gets it or not. So he's like, sum is how much or little money they give him. He's like, you got to tell me if you're following my lead. I like that Odokawa is questioning how smart the brother is. He's like, sometimes if you have something to say or any questions, you can speak up. And then he says, long ago, before he became cops, Dobu was arrested for robbing a bank. His boss may have been the principal offender. He's like, okay, well, one of Dobu's associates is your brother. And I like that Little Diamond threatens him, and Odokawa is like, okay, sit down. Like, no. He's like, why would my brother work with him? He's like, well, for money or something else, but Dobu is buying off a cop, so it's easier for him to do his job. And he's like, how can you say that without evidence? And he's like, well, that's why you're going to arrest Dobu. And he's like, well, then my brother will be arrested too. And he's like, well, it's starting to sound like you think your brother's guilty and associated with him. And it's like, Odokawa just uses reverse psychology and some psychological principles in this scene that are kind of crazy. And I'm like, when did Odokawa have the ability to do this? That's wild. But yeah, he basically makes Little Diamond confess that he knows his brother's working with Dobu. Now, why is his brother working with Dobu? Well, possibly to protect Little Diamond. Possibly he was threatened by Dobu. His brother doesn't seem like the kind that would stick up for himself. So he seems the kind of like, oh, I'll do whatever you want, just don't hurt me. So maybe it was just to protect himself. He says, if your brother is doing bad things, you've got to punish him. Otherwise, your sense of justice will waver. So then on there, it says, he says Odokawa, and the one guy says, oh, your name's Odogawa. And he's like, Odokawa. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You're the only one who cares about that detail. That part was weird. Why did he say his name differently? Because he wrote Odokawa. And why did he correct the little diamond? And why is that part of the conversation? It feels like it matters. And I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. He says, you guys want the same thing. He's like, and then there's the skull mask. And for some reason, the skull mask wants me. And so he explains everything about Dobu not actually being Tanaka. And he's like, he needs to get his gun back from skull mask to get the jump on Yano. I want to protect myself from the skull mask and from whatever they're planning. So I'm pretending to work with Dobu. And then that's when the little brother, who is kind of simple, does make a pretty astute observation. He's like, but why are you working with Dobu? That part doesn't make sense. And it's the Shirakawa part that he has conveniently left out of the story to not bring her up and get her involved. So he puts Gariki down, but he doesn't put Shirakawa. He's like, something terrible has happened to a friend of mine. And so he's like, I want to bring him to his knees, but he won't answer who it is. Interesting. So he says, getting down to business, Dobu is going to rob a bank. And then he's like, well, that's clearly evil. It's a repeat offense. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, he thinks I'm going to help him do it. So you're going to arrest Dobu. And he's like, but then you'll get arrested, Odokawa. And he's like, that's fine. We're doing this to punish evil. And that wins Little Diamond over. His eyes get all big and he's like, you're the opposite of evil. I'm like, yeah, I mean, Odokawa seems like he's doing good. He's trying to get Dobu arrested and he's playing like 3D chess to get this all set up. But the fact that this whole conversation is happening, is making me go like, how okay, smart, stable is Odokawa? Because for somebody that's not taking their medication and hasn't been sleeping, this is pretty good planning. This is a pretty solid plan. And to get the Little Diamond brother involved because he's easy to manipulate is kind of genius. He's like, you were really convincing, but it's hard to believe all of a sudden. He's like, I'm going to be tracking down evidence. He's like, in the first place, I thought you were the kidnapper in the Narima missing girl, high school girl case. He's like, could I take a look around your place? And Odokawa's like, sure. And there's this really tense moment where he's like, okay. And he goes to the door where Odokawa has not been sleeping in that room. He's been sleeping outside of it. And he goes to open and Odokawa is just sitting there waiting for him to open it. And that's when he gets the call to go down and check out the body. An unidentified body has been found at the mouth of the Sumida River. And he's like, okay. And so he has to go. He's like, do you believe me? He's like, of course not. But I'll hear you out if it means punishing evil. And he gives him his direct phone number. So yeah. So now he has the direct line. But like, what if he'd opened the door? What if he'd opened up the door? What would have happened? What? And then after that scene, we get, well, first we go to Eiji, and Eiji has like the kicks on the door where they've tried to kick it in, and he leaves the apartment to sneak out, and then Shio, he's like, I might be a little late, and she's like, sorry for asking to meet when you're busy with work, I'll wait as long as you need, and then he's like, I just finished and heading your way now. So then he cracks open the door and says, good girl. An unidentified body has been found in the Tokyo Bay. Okay. What? And there's the one brother eating noodles like off duty. When he said good girl, was he talking to the cat? What? Is it an actual cat? Is it a fake cat? Is it a cat that's like just a pet cat that he's been keeping inside and he's been telling the fake cat that she can leave anytime she wants? And it's like in the OP where it's just an actual cat and he's been taking care of her and not the missing girl? What? Because my theory is they're not really animals. The whole animal thing is tied to Odokawa being able to identify people and giving them a trait so that he can keep track of what they look like. But if the cat is actually a cat, so there's a body. This feels very Twin Peaks. There's a body they pulled up, tied with cement blocks. It says before dawn at the wharf in Minato. It said that there was the body of a woman believed to be in her teens to 30s discovered. Teens to 30s is a big old age range. That could be the girl that's missing, or it could be anybody else. We don't know. Nearby construction workers reported the body in accordance to the police investigation after being killed. And so then he says there, now you can't escape. Why did he say now you can't escape? What? They believed, what? Wait, I want to go back to that. They believe roughly a month has passed since her death. Her body was dumped in the sea. So then now you can't escape. What? What does that mean? Because there's a hole in the... I don't know why he said now you can't escape. Y'all. There's going to be a twist. There's going to be a twist with this damn whatever's behind that door. There's going to be a twist, and it is going to be insane. And I don't know what it is yet, but I am going to be floored when it happens. So they believe the body that they found died a month ago, which is about the time that one girl went missing, right? What? And then Odokawa sits outside to sleep outside the door, I guess to watch and make sure whoever's inside can't escape either. But we get confirmation that the body found was dead a month, which would match the missing girl. Oh, that the whole thing about now you can't escape is just flooring me. I'm like, what? What is happening? I don't know. But Odokawa can't sleep. So he looks at Shirakawa's phone, and Shirakawa talks about, how she's sorry she caused him all the trouble. Her and Dobu have called it off. He doesn't need help with the money anymore. There was a reason for it. My relationship's resolved. I hope you'll forgive me. And then we see her going to see Goriki, and she tells Goriki about Dobu and comes clean with everything. And he's like, well, Odokawa must have done something to help with this. Odokawa said he'd pretend to work with Dobu. And he's like, well, that makes sense. He's probably trying to save both you and me at the same time by doing that. So she's like, well, is there anything I can do to help? And so he pulls out, he's like, well, I can't pay you, but will you help me with my work? And she's like, well, what work are you talking about? And then he pulls out, he's like, what do you mean? Have you forgot what I do for a living? And then he says, we're going to treat Odokawa. So there's something that happened. It says a medical record. It said medical record Hiroshi Odokawa. And it says born May 25th, 555. So, okay, so this is another world, right? This is an alternate world because it says 555 is the date. And so maybe they are animals. Maybe this is a fantasy world that just happens to mirror our own. We don't know. We don't know what the 555 means. He's 41 years old. Address, there's the ward. And it says Itadori Heights, 102. And it said admissions back in October 21st. And there was a CT scan. So something's going on. The mystery. I don't know what to do. I'm like, is he sick? Is he terminally ill? Is this all in his brain? Is this a beautiful mind? I don't know what's happening. Meanwhile, Odokawa gets a foot cramp. And I can relate. I hate foot cramps. I hate foot cramps, especially in the middle of the night. Like, my dude needs a banana, which is ironically, hilarious considering we just got through with the Goriki scene and he's a gorilla. But anyway, so we go back to the docks, which ironically have safety first. And look, for Eiji to show up at these abandoned docks, my dude, you're 41 years old and you didn't see how this was shady as hell with the devilish red lighting too. So my question is, he's like, I don't see you, Shio. And then he sees her and he's like, oh, sorry to keep you waiting. And he's like, one of my subordinates made a mistake. And then the guys club him from behind. And he says, good work. Be careful on your way home. So Shio apparently has been luring these wealthy people to Yano. So Shio basically, so Eiji, here's what I think it is. I think Shio believes that Eiji is actually rich when he's not. So she's given Eiji to Yano to blackmail for money. But what we don't know, or what they don't know, is that Eiji is being hunted by the loan sharks. Because a part of me is like, I'm kind of torn, because a part of me thinks, well, maybe Eiji doesn't realize, and we the audience don't realize, that maybe Yano controls the loan shark business as well. And the loan sharks went to Yano and they were like, hey, we tried to get the money back from him, but it didn't work. And then Yano was like, well, wait, isn't he dating one of my, constituents? So let's have her lure him in and we'll get the money from him just straight at the source. But that seems weird because Yano seems like the kind of guy that he would just have those loan sharks, if that were the case, just keep going after him. So I feel like Yano and the manager and Shio do not know about the loan sharks, and that's going to be a thing. So I don't know where that's going to go. We'll get to Yano and Eiji at the end of this, but anyway, so we're back to Shibuya, where Odokawa is on standby waiting for Dobu. And I have heard that Shibuya gets crazy on Halloween. I hear everybody dresses up and it's wild. I've also watched Jujutsu Kaisen and it focuses on Shibuya a wee bit. And so it seems the case there as well. So I'm curious. So there's somebody with a Jason mask with their arm in a sling holding a can of beer. We don't know who they are. Everybody's dressed up. And then Odokawa bumps in to Yano and knocks him off of his scooter. Yano is so dangerous, and I'm highly afraid of him, but Yano is, I automatically love him. He's automatically one of my favorites because he speaks in like rap rhymes, and Odokawa has no clue how to deal with him. He's like, what the hell are you looking? Did your eyes disappear? I love he's in a suit with the red tie and everything, and he's the porcupine, and he's just singing already, and Odokawa's like, I don't know how to deal with you. And he just basically rhymes. He's like, when it comes to traffic, everyone does as they please, but all's well that ends well ain't good enough for me. And he's like, so what? That's your answer, old man. Don't make me scoff. Calling Odokawa old man makes me think he's really young. He's like, if you don't apologize, I'll grab a shotgun and blow your head off. I was like, oh, that got violent really quick. I like that he says bang, bang like that, though. And then he talks about like scattering your brain and he goes through the different parts of it. A heartfelt apology is what I'm demanding. And then Odokawa's like, isn't it your fault for riding a scooter into this? He's like, my fault. He's like, no. And by this point, it's gathered a crowd. He's like, arguing with every amateur out here ain't for me. Between you and I, there's a long, long silk road. If you've matured at all, where's the apology I'm owed? Oh, and then he's like, sorry. He's like, now it's a win-win. Lukewarm like the 1 coin canned coffee you can buy at this Halloween jamboree. Cold like the coin laundries I used when I was at the bottom of the heap. Interesting. It took me a while to make my point, but tonight, what I wanted to say was that you better make things right. Oh my gosh. This may sound sudden, but have a heart. I'm sorry, my guy. But at the end of the day, I just want us some compassion. Don't be shy. Oh my God. And then Odokawa's like, what? So meanwhile, they're setting up for this Halloween concert. That's all we got out of Yano's first impression, is that he just bumps into Odokawa. But because Odokawa is just some random bystander, he just does his little rap and goes on his way. I don't think Odokawa knew who he was talking to. So meanwhile, we have this concert set up, and Rui is like, these are plebeians, and I'm so much better than all of them. And so meanwhile, Yano's talking to the manager. He's like, I'll head over there as soon as the event is over. Okay, possibly to go back to where he's going to be with Eiji. He's like, was that Yano? And he's like, that's right. Do we have to still appear? Can't we have our own show? And he's like, be patient a little longer. By Christmas, you'll pull ahead of everyone appearing here today. So then Shio says, I want to stop. Shio shows up and Shio's like, I'm kind of tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. We don't see the black cat, which again is curious. But Shio's like, I don't want to run these badger games. I wonder what is badger games in Japan? Is there a name for those? Badger games. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Badger games is an extortion scheme or confidence trick in which victims are tricked into compromising positions to make them vulnerable to blackmail. It's derived from the practice of badger baiting. In its simplest form, the badger game proceeds as thus. A married man begins an extramarital affair. Another man, posing as the other woman's husband or brother, discovers the affair, and then he demands money from the man to keep the affair a secret. Unknown to the man having the affair, both the woman and the man who demands the money have prearranged the situation and the people conspiring against them. The woman may also claim that this sexual encounter was non-consensual and threaten the victim with sexual harassment charges. Okay, so that basically confirms it by the whole thing with the badger games. She's tired. Maybe she had real authentic feelings for Eiji. Girl, he's way too old for you and he's tricking you as well. So maybe once you find that out, you'll at least just back away from him. But that explains what's going on. She's having Yano. Yano's going to show up at the end and try to blackmail Eiji for money, but he doesn't realize Eiji doesn't have any money to give him, so it's going to backfire if the loan sharks get involved. This is just getting hairy. This is just getting hairier and hairier. Oh my God. And so Rui's like, well, what can you do then? And then the manager's like, we're going to talk later about it. Meanwhile, I thought when Dobu said he was going to dress up like Tanaka, he would have the blue hoodie on, the authentic costume. Like the cosplayer did a better job of cosplaying than Dobu. Dobu just wore the skull mask, and then everybody at Shibuya showed up with the same mask on, so it didn't do anything. Now, Odokawa reveals that he basically has this ability that once he sees somebody, he can remember who they are. But the problem is Tanaka has only been seen in the skull mask and Odokawa can't make it out. So he's like, it's difficult to explain. And he asks for a milk, which is interesting. He drinks a lot of milk. He's like, I could spot someone in a crowd even if they change their makeup once I see them. I've never seen a guy's face and he's wearing a full-on face mask. So I can't pick him out of a crowd. I wanted to see if there's anybody in the crowd that I could spot from here, but it doesn't seem to be, which is interesting. I wondered if there's anybody in the crowd that would be noticeable, but there doesn't seem to be. So then Kabasawa, we see his posts where he's like, I'm in Shibuya now. If you see Dobu, let me know. And he had the clown mask on. He's like, we'll check anything that seems credible. And somebody says, I saw Dobu wearing a skull mask in front of 109. Yep. So then we cut to the concert, and Amai is in the crowd dressed as a vampire, which is hilarious. I'm like, Amai, please go catch that lottery ticket, my dude. Please go do this. It is cute, though, that Amai still has, he still is a fan of Rui. I'm curious where that's going to go. But then we go to the cop car where the Diamond brothers are parked. And we see there's one cop that's out in front. She kind of looks like the Calico Cat. She has the same pink eyes as Shiho, which is interesting. He's like, I can't believe we have to go on patrol for these fools again this year. All these guys got their costumes a while ago and did their makeup at home and took the train all the way in from the boonies. Now, the brother has the pin on that is the same kind of pin that was the mystery kiss pin. It's the same one. So let's talk about that for a second, shall we? So far, the people with the pins. We've seen the manager with one. We've seen Big Diamond with one. And Odokawa had one from his taxi cab in the beginning of the series. So these mystery kiss pins have been given out to 3 people so far. What do they do? Do they have a recording device? Are they just like little clues to tell us who's connected? That Odokawa is somehow connected to Yamada's, the manager, and they're somehow connected to Big Diamond. What does the pin mean? What does the pin mean? Damn it! All this is gonna add up in like by the end of this, and it's gonna blow my mind, and I'm so ready. I wonder if they wish they were dead. Meanwhile, the brother is lamenting because he knows the fact that his bigger brother is working with Dobu. So they're walking around trying to count information. And that's when they notice somebody that they think looks like Tanaka. And the clothing was right. But I like Odokawa's like, I can't believe we found him this easily. The internet is amazing. He's like freaking Ron Swanson over here being like, I didn't know the internet could do that. And so they're like, well, he's got a gun, so we're going to go get it. Meanwhile, Yano is putting on his about to torture someone's gloves. And he's like, so persistent, so drawn out, my ringtone's in position. Addiction, I wish I could take my medicine and go to bed. But a container ship. Huh. Please zip it. I won't do it again. I promise I won't do it again. Isn't it about time you told me your name? And he's like, oh, it's the manager, not Yamada, Yamamoto. Okay. He says, as you're calling rather late, I'm sure you've got a lot on your plate. Oh my God, I don't know if I'd be able to talk to him in... He's like if John Ralphio Saperstein was cool. That's kind of what he's like. I also like that his scooter matches his suit. Love that. Love that for him. I do. He's like, time is money, and that's what you always tell me. If you don't get here soon, it'll happen again. Okay. Meanwhile, I kind of felt bad that Odokawa is just sitting there watching Dobu beat the snot out of this guy that's not Tanaka. And so that kind of implicates Odokawa in getting involved in all of this. And the one guy took a picture, which is no doubt going to be on the internet. And then that's going to link up. And Kabasawa is going to know who Odokawa is. Things are going to go off the rails because this one guy took a picture of him beating him up. It's not going to be good. No, it's not going to be good at all. And so he's like, are you the one that shot up the cabaret club? He's like, no, I thought that was you. I'm just cosplaying. And then there's Kabasawa taking the photo and running away with it. So the part that's crazy is that Kabasawa was trying to spread the chaos and make it even more chaotic. But like, what was he actually doing to stop? I guess he was going to post it. And then when they get in the crowd, because it's the end of the episode, Dobu gets caught amongst all the people in the masks. And maybe they're all going to look online and see that Kabasawa has shared the photo saying, look, Dobu is beating up this guy. Get him instead. So, I don't know. That seems problematic. That seems like it's not going to be good. That all these people are going to target Dobu with the masks on. What are we going to do about that? Meanwhile, while they're waiting on Yamamoto to show up, Yano shows up with the one guy. He's like Sekiguchi, the polar bear in the suit. He's like, nice tracksuit. It looks great on you. It's looking more and more like it'll come true. In accordance with fundamentalism, I'll see it all through. Oh my God. The violence of the present situation is just the preview. Time for the next stage. Let's keep it flowing. So, Eiji Kakihana, how's everything going? Oh my God. So, the big questions are, does Yano know that Eiji's broke as shit? Or does he think he's got money and he's trying to extort from him? What's with the pins, the mystery kiss pins? They're all connected somehow. How does that work? Is Kabasawa going to lead a riot to all start ganging up on Dobu? And here's the thing that's crazy about that is that that's where the brothers are. So if a riot starts and Odokawa and Dobu get involved in this riot of people trying to hurt them. Big Diamond's been working with Dobu. Is he going to get in and try to save him? And Little Diamond's now working with Odokawa. Is he going to get in and try to save him too? That could all be connected. And Little Diamond knows that Odokawa is pretending to work with Dobu, so he might let them off the hook. This is getting crazy. And meanwhile, they've conveniently put Goriki and Shirakawa over here, so they're out of the way right now doing whatever they're doing with the CT scan. We don't know, but it involves Odokawa's health. There's been a body discovered. It could be the missing girl. It could be a red herring and be something entirely different. We don't know. But then it's like, who's in what, is there an actual cat in Odokawa's house, or is it all not real? Is there a body? What's happening? He talked about her not escaping, but what does that mean? And then the driver in the past that's connected the Diamond Brothers to Odokawa. Is there something else there? White Coon, give me answers. I love this series because I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. I feel like all of these things are related. They're all connected. It's on the tip of my tongue. We're over halfway in the story. And I feel like once I find out what the reveals are, it is going to hit me like a roller coaster. And I'm so excited about that. I cannot wait to find out what missing links I'm missing that are connecting this all together. But I feel like we're getting close. And next week is the rule of 8. Next week is the rule of 8. I'm so excited. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. This one left a lot of questions and it moved very quickly and things are starting to speed up and ramp up, and I'm so excited to see what happens next. So it feels very much like Arrested Development. If you've seen Arrested Development, I know I said that at the beginning, but that series was 3. They've done seasons beyond season 3. Don't watch them. Watch just seasons 1 through 3. That's all you need to watch. But seasons 1 through 3, you find out it's all this big, giant web. And it'll all make sense at the end. But you won't quite see how it all makes sense until you watch all 3 seasons. And then at the very end, you're like, oh, and you see where all of the threads connect. And I'm waiting for that moment where the threads connect. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what's happening. So we'll see. Anyway, so I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Odd Taxi. Bye.